Hey guys, bike building, trying to get back onto the bike and get caught up doing a bunch of other stuff, but I think I'm pretty close to being caught up with that stuff. Winter time, all the winter stuff had to get done. Take the boat out of the water, you know, all that kind of crap. So that's all done, caught up, snowblower's ready to rock and roll, and we're back on this. And I think the last time we talked about this, we were in the process of thinking of Springer front end, and I kind of took that step a little further and didn't have the camera rolling, but got some stuff accomplished. And basically what we did is tried to figure out how we're going to come off of here with a cantilever and some bushings and all that kind of stuff, and how to hold an axle. So I decided to take these 1/2 inch or 3/8 plates. I'm going to say they're 3/8. So I got this 2 pieces of solid 3/8 plate I cut on the bandsaw and drilled and bushed these guys. They're glued together, so basically I want them to mirror each other. So on the drill press I was drilling them out, but I want them to match exactly dead nuts, so that, you know, nothing's kitty wampus on it. And they have basically a shoulder bolt, and there's the bushing on the inside of it, you can kind of see. So that's what that's going to rock on, that bushing inside there, and that plate will come up and grab this side. So I'm in a process now of trying to figure out how to attach the leaf spring to the front of it. So I started looking at threaded rod and try to figure out what kind of combination I can come up with. And I need knuckles that can pivot yet still. It still kind of has to pivot up here and pivot down here. Doesn't really have to support it from left to right. It just has to take the load and, you know, be able to swivel at both of those locations. So I was looking at what I had. I had these couple of these con rods, tie rod ends off of a go-kart front wheels that were in my hoard that I cleaned up. I said, well, what about using those? They can pivot in any direction. So I'm going to go start disassembling those, and they are the same length, and kind of hold them up to there and see what we can kind of come up with. So I'll turn you back on when I get there. Alright, so I cleaned those guys up a little bit and took the ends off and wire wheeled them so that they can kind of go up and down a little bit. I got one set fairly short and one long, just to kind of get an idea for distance that they can travel. I can probably knock another 1/2 inch off of that one still. And bent them back into some kind of similarity of something. And now I'm just kind of holding them up and trying to figure out what I want to come up with. I figure here's where I'm going to kind of whittle these down, you know, that line and that line. So I'll kind of come up off of that, and that'll get me all the way up to the top, but I'm not sure if I want to do, you know, that. Probably be on the inside. Yeah, I don't know if I want to do that setup. I just stuck that knuckle in there because it fit in there. I don't know if we're going to go with that on top. I also kind of like the horseshoe too. So I'm trying to figure out how I can incorporate that guy. And again, I also have to try to kind of kick it out past this that hub there. So a few things kind of going on at the same time. I figure the bottom's going to stay the same, so probably what I can do is drill my last hole. I'll just kind of drill it for what these bolts are that came out of it. I'll drill that for there, and that way these two will be a match set. And I might even whittle down the outside of it, and then I'll split these apart. We'll put one on each side of it, and have a better idea how it can kind of go together structurally, and kind of see what kind of strength we got too, you know. So I'm gonna go do that. I'll go drill that out and set it up, and so we can bolt the bottom half of it up, and then once we have those in place, we'll figure out what we're gonna do up there. How long do you think this is gonna take? Say a good 15-20 minutes, but you get the idea. Yeah, I'll finish her up. leave the ends alone for now. I'll deal with that later. We'll just try to get the rock in shape. I might change on that too. So I think now I'm going to go over to the belt sander, and we'll kind of clean these shapes up just a little bit, and then we'll split them up. And I want to try to grind them at least together and have a uniform pattern. So let me go over the sander and give them a dressing. Getting there. One more. I even set my paper up to a thicker one. Go hit her on the sander. That's got 100 grit on there though. It's kind of fine for what I want to do. Roughing it in. Pop that out of there. We'll throw a new 60 on there. It's got arrows on it. Make sure it's going the right way. There we go. Let it run for a second. And what I do with the part. There it is. That's working pretty good. You want to rake your knuckles across that though, do you? So that axle's a little wide now to fit in between those two that they're on there, so I'm going to do a little trimming. And I don't want to use the parting tool. It's a hardened, the axle's kind of hardened, and I'm not all that crazy about that parting tool anyway, so I figure I'm going to go with it. We're going to rough it in with a grinder, so stick it in the lathe, we'll get it spun up, and then we'll just kind of hit it with a cut wheel. And eyeball it, see if you get a fairly straight cut. See what that looks like. Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty flat. I gotta do the same on the other side, and let's stick it back in there. I'm gonna assemble the wheel onto it, you know. Yeah, we got that a little mocked up. Kind of see what we get for travel now. I don't know. That looks like it should work fairly well. I clear everything decent. There's no spacers under the wheel yet, so the wheel can slide left and right on that axle. Just gonna go that way just a little bit. There we go. Yeah, so that should make for a good suspension, I think. And I can still flip these over yet, have the arc go the other direction if I want. But I'm gonna start with it like that for now, and now we got to try to come up with what I want to do for that part of it. Make it attached to the spring. I kind of like these just for the adjustability of it too, and plus if I need to kind of kick it left or right on one side, I can still do that. But one of them's going to have to get heat up and get bent around to kind of tuck in, I think. I don't know. What if I was to hang the horseshoe from above it? You guys even see up there? Probably like, what the hell is he talking about? No, you can't see nothing. So what if I was to come maybe from above with the horseshoe? Give me more room. I kind of like the way it looked tucked around the tire, but here's what my my issue is. My issue is trying to get, I have to get down around this and to that pivot point. And if I make this point too sharp, it's not gonna respond correctly, you know what I mean? So I think I'm gonna rip that crap out of there and try to suck the horseshoe closer up to there and see what it looks like, and then we'll reassess. Okay, I hemmed and hawed long enough. I went from horseshoes to wrenches to that hoard that came in at the last wrench pile, and I came up with these guys, which I'm not quite sure what they are. Who knows, boot scrapers or something. Maybe they're meant to mount outside on cement. But they got a nice little swirl pattern in the center of it. And I think I'm going to go try to incorporate that instead. So what I did up on top is took one of these, I grabbed a bunch of these clevises at a yard sale during the summertime. They got black bushings on 4 corners of it, allowed to pivot with a bunch of knuckles and all. This is the center part of it. Let's see. So it looked like that, and then it had these guys that kind of swiveled off, and I think I can kind of use that for some kind of pivot or something in the future. It just so happens that these fit right in the leaf spring quite well, so I ended up kind of going with that. And while I kept playing around with these, I'm like, well, I don't even need this double knuckle, and I don't need the top rod end, because it just needs to pivot really on that bushing, and that's it. So what I did was I took one of these and I cut it in half, and then these are the 2 halves that you see kind of floating in here. And then I cut these pins right off, sharpened them like a pencil point on each side of it, and stuck them in a piece of angle iron, clamped them down, and welded them. So now basically there's one long pin with threads on each end of it, with half of this on each end of it. So my thinking is now I'll sacrifice just one of these rods. I'll cut it in half. The adjustment and the heim joint can be on the bottom. That's where most of the articulation is going to be. And on top, really when it's going up and down, it's going to very slight movement. But I already have that movement in the center here. You know, this can rotate back and forth. So I can clamp these down solid, run the nut right in, and pinch it on that shoulder. There's a shoulder in there. So that'll be fixed. So here's what we're kind of thinking of going with. I'll cut that rod in half or a third, cut that top off of there, weld that right to that, kind of grind them down to make them look like they're supposed to be almost one kind of deal, and do the same with the rod on the bottom, wherever I cut this, probably, you know, probably something like that. Cut it off and just weld the other one right to it, and then we'll kind of grind them, go from square to round, and we'll let that be the bottom half of it. So that's the plan as of right now. It may change, but I'm going to go and move forward with that, and we'll see how it looks. Yeah. All right, this is it. So I got them cut up and set up in there. I like the way they look. Wasn't quite sure beforehand, but I like the way that pattern's in them. I kind of penciled these down a little bit. Again, everything's just kind of roughed in, and the top I just tacked. I haven't even filled them in yet, but just wanted to make sure that proof of a concept was going to work before we started making everything pretty. That I don't have any spacers. I need to make a spacer there, and a spacer for the wheel. You can slide the wheel back and forth on the axle. An inch back and forth. The only thing that I have an issue with is because everything is built offset on that side of the wheel. You look at that one, it's not on the same angle as that one. That one's more straight up and down. But I'm kind of wondering maybe if I should just take and see how this one's on the inside. Maybe we can try and flip that one to the outside and see if they parallel each other. I think I'd rather leave these straight instead of heating this guy up and bending it and trying to come in on that angle. I don't know yet. Well, anyway, there's now a wrench in it, and we can kind of I should probably pop you guys in the stand, show you what we got going on there. I should probably hop up on the bike. Yeah, let's do that. All right, I got to be gingerly though, because the whole frame's just kind of tacked together, so I can't be yanking 200 pounds on that front end, but get an idea what it does. think that'll be just fine. I don't see that being an issue at all. I like the spring tensions just about right. I could always fudge it a little bit if I have to, but it actually feels pretty good right where it is. I also kind of like the way the leaf spring follows the tire. I was trying to make it so that I didn't want too much of differential in this gap right here. I wanted to try to kind of have it be similar anyway. That looks pretty good. And I flipped the rockers around. I tried the rockers the other way. I didn't like it. I like them better that way. So I'm going to go try flipping that rod onto the other side. Looks perfect from the side, just the front, that they're not being symmetrical. But that rim's not symmetrical, just is what it is, right? I bet you didn't tell anybody, nobody even noticed. But I notice. So let me try swapping that guy over there and we'll see what that does for us. I'll swap that around, and everything's kind of floppy in the front end, but it actually looks pretty good. I like the, it's more symmetrical. And if you're looking straight on, the only time you're going to be able to tell that that's on the other side. You're looking at one side, you're going to say, yeah, rod end. You're going to look at the other side and say, yeah, rod end. I don't think you're going to quite pick it up. The only thing I really have an issue with right now is I put these two plastic bushings in here, and without these rods even being on here, it wants to sit on an angle. Now this is pretty straight. This axle I made, or pivot, is pretty straight. So either I drilled that hole wrong, or the springs cockeyed to one side a little bit. It actually does look like it's got a little bit of a twist too. So I got to go play with that and get that kind of squared away. But I'm not that concerned about that right now. I'm just looking at trying to get the overall. I put a level on the tire. The back tire is straight up and down. The front tire is straight up and down in that position. And you can kind of influence that again by these turnbuckles. I could actually make one rocker higher or lower from the other one slightly by just adjusting those rods. So I'm glad I have that capacity on there. And I think for the brake band, I'll probably come around with a post coming off of here somewhere, and a piece of leather that can go around, or a piece of rope. And then I need something to kind of like pull up on it from this side, one or the other. And I don't think I'm that far away from that leg right there. I should be able to grab it with something fairly good. I'll deal with that when I get there, though. I like it. For homemade, huh? It even works. So I think I'm gonna go shut the camera off for you guys for a little bit, and I'm just gonna go putz around and kind of tighten everything up, because everything's just literally sloppy. You know, these aren't tight; they're not sucked up into place, and the clamps down here are not tight. And so I'm gonna go futz around with that stuff a little bit. Maybe even put a little bit of heat on that spring and see if I can get it to kind of rack a little bit this way. I won't heat the whole thing up, but just the knuckle on the end there. And there's a message. So I'm going to shut you guys down for now, but I'm going to play for a little bit longer. Again, thanks for watching, comment, subscribing. Take care, guys.